October 30th, 1915, in a small town in Poland named Stepan Grudek. We had a big family, 7 children, father and mother, and we also had my mother's sister for a while living with us. Very hard-working people. They had a general store. And a small town, of course, from morning till night, they have to stay in the store, work hard, because it was a small town. The children have to be educated out of town. Since my bar mitzvah, I left home, used to come just for the holidays, and learn in yeshivas. First, I was in Rovna, which is approximately 50 miles from us. Then I moved to Baranovich higher school, and I would say it's like a rabbinical college.
Can you say something about the first school? What do you remember about
The first school was a child. I was between 13 and 15 years old. Was a school which gave us Hebrew and also Talmud, beginning of Talmud and Chumash. We had math teacher also. There was a school which was from all the surrounding towns and villages came here and they learned over there. And I was one of them. There was nothing special I can mention by that.
Where did you live during that time?
We had a dormitory in the yeshiva, and we ate. We used to go one day to one of the people invited for a day, one day a week. Then we went to the other one. I mean, each day you have a different place to eat. And we also had a kitchen there, which provided more than less now the food is necessary. I was there 2 years, and from there I moved to Baranovich, which was a higher yeshiva, higher school, and was famous for the good Rosh Yeshivas. That's their lecturers, we call it. And there I came in 1932, I believe. More than less, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. It could be 1932 or 1931. And I was there for about 10 years. I studied there, and I was there a tenant, but different places. I had rooms, boarding rooms. There was no dormitory in the yeshiva. We lived privately, which your parents paid for it. Somebody who didn't have any money, the yeshiva provided the rent, and there was a kitchen. The kitchen provided food for lunch, dinner only. Dinner used to be during the day, the main meal, and breakfast and evening used to eat home. Our faculty was one of the best known in part of Lithuania. The very well-known Rabbi Elchon Wasserman was very well-known all over the world, was our Rosh Yeshiva. And there was a few Rosh Yeshivas under him, which taught us not only plain the way it's written, but different commentary. We had a few commentators, philosophical commentators they call them, and over there I enjoyed very much. I was there very well known already between the people who in Branch. I was there a long while. And I moved from there in 1937 for a year in a higher school called Kamenetz. which though she was also very well known, and his name was Leibovitz, Borubel Leibovitz. After a year and a half there, I moved back to Baranovich, and because I had so many friends there, I settled there as single, and I used to do some business. We started up with tea. One of my friends had opened up a tea place, getting raw material from India, Ceylon, and we used to mix it together and make a tea blend. And I got acquainted from family named Grabowetsky, and I married their daughter in 1939. Her name was Hannah. I had a child, 2.5 years old. He was born in March, 10th of March, 1940. He was 2.5 years old when he was perished by the Nazis. Now I would like to start from the time that the Germans came to our town. That was in June. I believe it was the 27th of June, when the Germans came into our town. We were before occupied by the Russians. As you know, in 1939, Poland was divided between Germany and Russia. We were on the part of Russia. So before the Germans came to us, that was Russia. All the business, the bigger business, was almost liquidated because there was no private enterprises, and mostly was small little business or like barbers, any service that they give for the people, but big business was no more. I had a grocery wholesale before the Russians came to us. When they came, I would say between me and my partner, we had approximately $1,500. As the Russians came, they thought we are capitalists. And they took away the store, of course, and whoever was there belonged to them then. Even the money that was sold later for the material, for the goods, was supposed to go to the Russian government. But I'm a little out of place. I started with the Germans, I go back to Russia because I skipped over there. But for the Russians, we were working different jobs. Our language was not Russian, it was Polish, but we learned the Russian language, and we mingled between them, and I lived there with them for about a year. The Russians came in September 1939, 2 years I was with them actually, and the Germans came in June 1941. We had no problem, of course. We did go to the synagogues, had our services, but they looked at us as second-class citizens. But we got used to it. We continued our way of life. You couldn't get a good job by the government if they know that you're one of the religious people. But we had no problem. Somehow we got acquainted and used to it, I would say, and we continued with them. Now I'll go back when the Germans came.
Before you go back to that, I wanted to know a little bit more about life in Poland. Mm-hmm. Did you have any problem as a Jewish person growing up in Poland?
Yes. In fact, to our store, when I got in the morning, I find once was a sign on the sidewalk, which was in Polish, "Swój do swego," which means buy by your own people, don't go to a stranger. So the anti-Semitism in Poland was big at that time, no doubt about it. In fact, you weren't safe when you walked in the evening alone, and even in the Jewish neighborhood, because you used to go around there. In fact, I remember at one time, I had a colleague, which was from Poland, and he was wearing a Hasidic uniform. At one time, I was walking with him, and two Gentiles jumped us. We ran away, they got hurt a little bit, but in fact there was anti-Semitism, no doubt about it. If even in the business or other business.
I know you went to yeshivas, but how about in the schools? Did you ever go to...
I did not attend any high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was strictly in the yeshiva. Whatever we learned from math or whatever it is, we learned on our own, or if you have a tutor. But we did not go to high school or college, so I cannot give you a report to say exactly how it was, even though I heard there was some kind, but I didn't witness that, so I wouldn't be part of it to tell you about it.
What kind of education did your sisters get?
My sisters, also religious, but they did not go to high school either. But my father had homecoming, all kind of teachers, language and everything to teach them home. They did not go to. My father was Hasidic. Even none of our children learned in the Hasidic yeshivas because he thought that the Lithuanian yeshivas are more knowledgeable and they give you better education. So he sent us over there. Oh, we were 5 brothers and 2 sisters. All of the brothers went to yeshivas. Of course, out of town. We did not have any in our town.
Did you go together as brothers to
No,
the same?
we were not the same age. We started up. My older brother and I were together just about a year. And then my older brother studied for a while and went back to help the father in the store. And I remained in the yeshivas till I got married.
Can you tell me something about how your family celebrated the Jewish holidays, Pesach, for instance?
Well, if I would describe a Pesach was, you wouldn't believe it maybe. Before Pesach, there was everything out of the house. You used to clean and wash everything over there twice a year, before Pesach and before Rosh Hashanah. And on Pesach, of course, all the family were together. We used to come from the yeshivas home for the Pesach, and sometimes for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur also. And it was a time of joy. Father used to sit and enjoy, to ask, whether have you got something new, something did you learn? Can you tell us something? So it was a day, or I would say, a holiday of joy.
Can you say something about the Seder table and the evening? What was that like?
Seder table was just like, of course, there was a lot of singing, and each of us had to ask the question. And when we got bigger, of course, we didn't ask the question just plainly where it was written. We had our comments, and each one of the boys tried to outdo the other one. So we had our comments, and we used to ask the questions in a different form. But we celebrated, was one of the joyous occasions we had.
How many Jews were there in your town in relation to non-Jews?
It was only 15 families in our town, Jewish families. It was a center place which a lot of business. Since my father was another few businesses there, and people from the villages around used to come and buy here, trade or buy. It was a hard work. They worked very hard, father and mother. She used to stay in store all day and come in the evening and take care of the children. We had some help. Mother had some help in cleaning.
Which Hasidic group did your father belong to?
Caroline Stollen. He used to go away on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur to the rabbi. On Rosh Hashanah, I believe. Rosh Hashanah alone, right, he used to go away to the rabbi, which was in Pinsk, and come after the holidays. But never any other holiday. Pesach, Shavuos, he used to be with the family.
Did he ever take any of you boys along?
I was the ones. I came from the yeshiva direct to that Pinsk, to that rabbi, and I met him there.
Can you describe that?
I
What do you
was
remember?
that time in Baranovich. My father had a friend there, which was also a chassid of the same rabbi. He was a very rich man, and I used to come to him very often, eat Shabbos there. I used to be all these Shabbos, and I used to go to him and eat there. And when the day before Rosh Hashanah came, he says to me, "Would you like to go with me? And over there, you meet your father, you go home." And of course, I accepted. That's why I went there to Pinsk. But most of our boys did not join the father in going to the rabbi often. For simple reason, we were all studying in, we call it misnagdish yeshivas. They did not believe in Hasidism. And as such, of course, we inherited from them that same thing, and we very seldom join the father in going to the rabbi. Also, I would say, I had it in my conversation, and in 1938, I believe was it, he was in Baranovich for a visit. He was a very friendly man, usually used to wait, a lot of people used to wait in order to see him. And he came out and called me in, and everybody was wondering. I was a single teenager boy, and he called me up, and I was 18, 19 at that time probably. And when I came in, he was discussing with me about my father told me I should ask the rabbi if I should get married. And when I told him about it, he says, if the Jews would only realize, I would like to try and say the same word that he says, to see the dark clouds that coming on us, they wouldn't think about getting married. That was, of course, was before even the Germans and the Russians divided Poland between them. But he says a Jew should do whatever the Torah tells him. You get married, even though you're not supposed to, if you would think as a human being. It sounds better in Yiddish the way he said it.
Can you say it in Yiddish?
Wenn die Jiden wollten gesehen, die finstere Chmare, was kommt auf uns, wollte man nicht getracht, wegen Chassen haben, in haben Kinder. Anything else you want to know about previous life? Because I was ready to start with the Germans already. In Meanwhile, we already spent about 15
No, but it's very
years.
interesting to hear what life was
Right.
about. And this is a society that's unfortunately not around anymore.
Right. It's a good thing you stopped me and start talking about before, but I was already a little uncomfortable when I start talking about my family. The Germans came. It will be easier now. So where I started, the Germans came to us in Baranovich in June 27, 1941. As soon as they arrived, they started up right away against the Jews. First order was each Jew should wear a white band on his left arm and a yellow Magen David on it. It should be large, 10 centimeter which is approximately almost 4 inches. So he should recognize whenever he sees a Jew in the street. It didn't take more than a day when they start taking away houses, the more nicer homes, more beautiful homes, either for office or for some German who wants to live there. Was given only 4 hours to move out. No other apartment was given to him. Look, go wherever you please. And of course, you couldn't take your furniture with you. And if you could, where are you going to put them? And they start beating, catching people, taking to work.
What happened to you?
I'll come to it. And in fact, on the 3rd day, there was one Gentile, I believe it was a Pole, who pointed his finger on one of the young people that he was a communist, and they shot him. They took him to right, not on the spot, but they took him to the Kommandantur, they call it, and they shot him over there. On the 3rd day, they caught 210 people. They put them to work in the army. There was an army post, a time for Pole. And they cleaned up over there. They took 210 people, they worked there. And after half the work, they told them to go and register. They put out 3 tables, and anybody could go to eat any table he wanted to. It was on the middle table registered 71 people. They took the 71 people and put them away in one of the buildings there. And they shot them. On the following day, there were signs all over the city in German and in Polish. 71 communists were killed. There was no punishment for a Jew for disobeying their orders, just death. They caught 350 people in one day. I'm talking all the first week was it. 350 people, and I was caught between them. When he told me to go in that truck, and he asked me, what are you doing? Without knowing any German, I just said, ich mach zusammen. Means I used to make fence for hotel. And he one asked the other, what does it mean? So he says, he's like he's a dentist. And the other guy said, let him go. They need him in the OT. OT was the name of the organization where I worked. I don't know what OT stands for. I believe Organisation Tot was called. And they used to do work. I worked by the railroad. Make fans, prepare some material for them. So they let me go. Those 350 people were never seen back. They told everybody they were taking to work. Even told them to make some packages to send them, food, whatever it is. Of course, nobody ever saw them and nobody ever heard from them. They were killed, and nobody ever knew even what place, what spot. That was SD. SD stands for Sonderkommando, means a special group. They used to come and take care before the regular government used to come. Anything that happened was that. In fact, I remember in one case, there was a soap factory. The name of the owner was Bernstein. And of course, his son was working there, and he needed money. One day he sold a bottle of whiskey to one of the Gentiles. And the Germans took him out and shot him right there. That means disobeying the orders of the German government. People start gathering together in the south side of Baranovich, of the city. And of course, because they were taking away a lot of homes, and people were looking where to settle someplace, they came with somebody they know and they let them in. it was automatically already gathered together in that part of the city more Jews. We were not allowed to go on the sidewalk. It was formed a committee from Jews by themselves in order to supply the Germans with labor. They shouldn't catch people in the streets. So I remember that time got together a few people, and he says they will form a committee. They went to the Germans, he told them, anything you need, do not catch people in the streets, come to us and we'll supply you. Every morning, people used to come, gather together by that place, and used to come and need 100 workers, used to go with them. I worked in different places. As I mentioned before, I worked in that OT group. I also worked for a while in an oil factory, oil for human consumption. I used to make oil from sesames. I worked there for a while. I also worked for a while in ZHO, was Central Handelsgesellschaft Ost. Used to get eggs, conserve them somehow with and butter, and send it over back to Germany. And they had a place where they used to do it, and I was one of the workers there also for a while.
You speak of this group that organized the labor.
Later on, that group became the Judenrat, but in the beginning was no Judenrat. It was just a group from Jews who wanted to protect us. Instead to get caught in the street and later they figure they get lost, let people know where they're going to work and have a record of it.
The leaders who organized this group, do you know
Later
something
it became
about
a
that?
Judenrat.
Mm-hmm.
When the regular, this was before the regular government of the Germans came. Later came in a regular government, was a Gebietskommissar, which means like I would say a governor for the old neighborhood. His name was Rudolf Werner. And he took over the building of Bank Polski, it's the bank of the Polish government. And he had in it one by name of Krampe, which was in charge of the Jews. Was very well known. He had a car with him. He called it a Spitzrute. It's like something you hold for the cowboys, for the cows. It was a nice stick made up with edges, wire, whatever it is. When I used to get mad, used to hit somebody over there. Used to carry it with him always. And he was the one who always ordered everything for the Jews. This was everything before the ghetto even started. There was no ghetto. People automatically formed like a ghetto because they were forced to leave their houses and move close with the other Jews. Later they decided that after the regular government came, the Gebietskommissar, then they decided to change from Polish to White Russia. And they formed for White Russian police, White Russian mayor, and they were taking over. Of course, they by themselves, the White Russian, did not rule. They were like puppets for them, but he had the name of Bürgermeister or commandant from the police. But they were all obeying just the order of the Germans. But they felt that they have their own government, because before was Poland, they had nothing to say. They were no part of it. They were just like citizens. And after the Russians came, was the same thing, was by Russians. Now they figure they have their own identity and be like a White Russian republic, whatever it is, or a government even. They thought they were going to come to it, so they obeyed the Germans fully. And they were happy to see all the atrocities that the Germans did against the Jews. And they start talking those days about forming a ghetto. But forming the ghetto started up different opinions. Some of them said out of town. Was a name called Sakhalin. Was small few farmhouses, little houses, abandoned, some of them even. And they told everybody to go there. And at one point they told everybody to move in there, and they came there, the Gentiles still live there, and they didn't want to leave their houses. A rainy day they came back. Was something I can describe even. People running with their carriages because they have no wagons they couldn't use. Of course, forget about furniture, but they just took their clothing, underwear, however they could, in bundles, some food to move there, and there they had to come back. Till finally the Jewish committee went there and he says, if you want to form a ghetto, let's arrange it. Not one guy sends there and the other guy will tell you another place. And then they decided to form the ghetto of the southwest of the city of Baranovich. It took 5 months, I believe, from June 27 till December 12th. I remember they said it was 12 o'clock, December the 12th month, and the date was the 12th, that the ghetto was completed. How was it completed? They took most of the Gentile people, they put in poles all around there, the ghetto, and barbed wires. Then, of course, each house was discussed, should go this or this side. They allowed only 1 square meter per person. A square meter is 39 inches. So it's 3.3 per person. Can you imagine a house where it used to live 5, 7 people, wind up with 70 people? In one room, regular room, I would say 10 by 12 feet, used to be like 20, 30 people. And they make bunks, one on top of each other, some even 3 bunks, in order to have room for everybody there.
Where did you live?
My father-in-law's, did I tell you I got married in Baranovich? My father-in-law's house was in ghetto. And of course, people try to take in. They had to take in, if there was 70 meters, there had to be 70 people. So, but they tried to get in people which they wanted to. First of all, about the kitchen. If you're not kosher and everybody has to use the same kitchen, there will be fights. So they tried to get religious people. And now, in that house was 70 people. Mostly, not mostly, but all of them religious. In the room where I was sleeping was about 18 or 20 people. Can you imagine? There was one bathroom outside the house. One for 70 people. Can you imagine? People used to get up early, 2 hours before still dark, in order to get in there. And especially those people who used to work and go out and wanted to work. The kitchen was something out of this world. Can you imagine? 15 or 20 families, each tried to cook something on one stove. And everybody thought that the other guy had more time than him. Water, there was no running water. They had to take in water from a well, fetch water by pail and bring it in. Dirt was something you would believe it. After a while, so many people together, the ladies tried to keep clean, wash every day, but no matter what they did, bug beds, bed bugs, I said bug beds, bed bugs and all kinds. But we try all the best is to go outside and wash himself, everybody, and try the best. But was something you wouldn't believe it. 70 people in that house where my father-in-law's family was only by himself, and there was a tenant with 2 rooms. Used to be there 10 people, now it's 70 people. Comes to food, each one tried to bring in something. That ration that they gave us, 100 gram per person. 100 gram is a tenth of a kilo, which is 20th of a pound. Have a quarter of a pound per person. Bread. And sometimes a little, I call it grits. We had it a little easier. In the backyard of my father-in-law's house was a mill. Small mill made for making buckwheat only. And the buckwheat used to be in big size, smaller size, and some like very small, like for the children you give the money, used to call it. So they decided, because the farmers needed it, they took barbed wires, and the entrance was separate, of course with barbed wire, but was in the back of the house. And later, my father-in-law asked them they should give me, because I'm a specialist in that, to work also in that mill. And I started to work in that mill as soon after the ghetto was formed. We had farmers used to come, of course. The guy in charge was a Gentile, and somehow used to give him something. He used to sneak in over the wires to the house something for the other people, for everybody to eat. But the hunger was big, of course, but people managed somehow. They used to make gefilte fish from dry bread, try to make something out of it. The life in ghetto was unbearable, of course, but people got used to it. It did not bother them as much. Used to get together. Some of them didn't sleep all night, used to go outside in the summertime, but winter was cold, they couldn't. Matter of fact, it happened when the water got frozen in the house, because there was no wood. There was no heating system like you have here. The heating system was from just make a fire in the oven with wood, and that used to supply heat for the house. Wood was scarce. Some broke old furniture to use it as wood, to warm up or cook something. It was formed then in ghetto. As soon as the ghetto opened up, they formed the committee as a Judenrat. And the Judenrat was headed by one of our most distinguished people in Baranovich named Izikson. He had a secretary, was named Men. She was always doing for poor people, even before them, go around. She was devoted to help people over there. And they were the head of the Judenrat. As soon as the Judenrat was formed, first thing they did, told them we need 5 kilo gold and 10 kilo silver. The Judenrat has to form their own police. Was formed a Jewish police station. They had dark blue bands on their arm and was marked Ordnungsdienst. It means service for the people, with a stamp from the Gebietskommissar. And with the help of this police, they used to come to the houses. If somebody disobeyed, they did not give any gold. Came over, of course, and people start carrying their golden rings, whatever they had in gold, golden watches even, and give it to the Judenrat. The Judenrat supplied them within 3 days the 10 kilo silver and 5 kilo gold. It did not stop there. They keep continuing always demanding this and demanding that. I was not a member of the Judenrat, and I cannot tell you exactly how many times and how often they did it. But in fact they did. Because when the Germans came, I told you before, we were by the Russians. And being by the Russians, everybody prepared himself like leather, fabrics, because they were afraid they will not get it later on. So each one had in his house somehow prepared leather or fabrics, or fur sometimes. They knew about it, they were Jews, and they lived between the Jews. So if somebody disobeyed, did not give them, they used to come with the police. And very simple. Search in the house, and you find it, take it.
Can you remember them coming to your house?
They did not come to our house for simple reason because we took off all our rings and all our gold, we brought them over there. And when they came over there for the other letter, was taken out and given them because my father-in-law did not think about hiding too many things. He was very, I would say, pessimist. I did not think about it. But I remember them going in our neighbors. At one point they came to our house also, but there was no search conducted. They just told them you have to give so much and so much, and they got it. The police actually were plain Jewish people as we know each other, but they picked up young, strong people to be in the police, and they were enforced the laws of the Judenrat, which obeyed the laws of the Germans. Our president was one very devoted man. Even I heard later that there were some people where their president sold out these people. That was not the case in our city. I can witness it and tell you that, in fact, as I'll tell you later, that he was killed also. After they had the people in the ghetto, of course, barbed wires all around, there was a few houses in front of the ghetto which was out of ghetto, but the doctors used to be there because they used the doctors to go for the city hospitals also once in a while. So they didn't have much room there. There was no such thing as a room for one doctor. One room could be a few doctors, but they were not in ghetto. So they were afraid the sickness of ghetto might go on them and they won't be able to handle the sick people. So they gave them out of ghetto. I don't recall exactly, it was 3 or 4 houses. Was one house, Werkstatt, we call it, where tailors, shoemakers used to be and used to come and put orders. He wants a new pair of boots, and he used to take the order, his measurements, he used to do it for them. Of course, they didn't get paid for it. It was not allowed for a Jew to get paid for his work. The Gentiles in the city use a lot of workers from the ghetto. And they're not supposed to get paid, they didn't get paid. It was a fact once, was a lady's tailor, Gentile, by the name of Shuleko. She had a Jew working for her, which was also very known good tailor. Yes, I think his name was Amstibovitsky. And she claimed for the Germans that he asked her for pay. He was brought to the ghetto, inside the ghetto, in front of the Judenrat. They ordered to gather together the Jews around him. Not everybody went there, but a lot of went there. And they shot him right there. Disobeyed the order of the Germans. At that time they ordered, instead of to have that band on his left arm, they should be on his chest, in the front and the back. In the beginning, it was like a circle, a yellow circle. In the front by the heart, and in the back, exactly in the back, the same thing, same place, on your left side. Later they told they put a Magen David, was also the same measurement of 10 centimeters, which was around 4 inches. Everybody had to have it, so a lot of people did it with pins, used to pin it on and go to work. And when they wanted to jump in illegal to a store of the Gentiles and buy something, they used to take it off, you shouldn't recognize him. They find out, and they told that all the yellow Magen David should be sewn on, not be pins.
Where were you working during this time?
I was already working that time in beginning. I still was working outside in this place which I mentioned before. But I started to work immediately after the ghetto. I started working inside, not inside the ghetto, it was out of the ghetto, but behind the house for my father-in-law. And there I remained to the end of the ghetto working.
Did they allow the doctors to come into the ghetto, though, to treat people?
Of course, there was a hospital formed in the ghetto. There was an old age home. And they made from the old age home a hospital. It was hard to get medicine, of course, for them, for the hospital, but somehow they had friends, the doctors themselves, and used to bring it in, medicine for some people. It was a very small hospital, of course. Very seldom we took in somebody to the hospital unless he's already going. The doctors were mostly appointed to the ghetto. They used to, if somebody is, a surgeon, of course they took him to do some work in the hospital outside the ghetto. But mostly were appointed here. They just kept them there for sanitary reasons, I believe. They shouldn't get catch. One time they thought we have typhus in the ghetto. And they were already to annihilate the ghetto. They came in and the doctors witnessed that there was no typhus in the ghetto. So the doctors had a hospital, a small hospital. It was an old age home. They converted into a hospital. When people used to go out to work, the order got stricter and stricter. People has to go in a column. No more 2, 3 workers used to come, one of the Gentiles, and get 2 workers and go out. Has to go in a group to a certain point where they have to go out. Was 3 in a row. And when a German came in, everybody had to grab with his right arm his mitze, his hat, and lower down to his knee. For any German used to pass by. For disobeying used to hit and knock your teeth out. But after a while, a lot of soldiers did not know, and they used to salute back, thinking that he just give him honor. So they told not to do it anymore. But in the beginning, used to go, imagine a column, 50, 80 people, 100 people go, and everybody grabs his hat, his mitzvah, and take it down. But they did it, and later they told not to do it anymore. People got used to the life in ghetto, and they used to sneak in some food, even though they are used to search by coming into the ghetto if you haven't got anything illegal. Everything was illegal. Food, wherever it is, it's illegal. But they used to put under the clothes sometimes, and when they told them that there is a strict search, used to drop it. Before coming, they used to say there's a strict search. Used to drop it before reaching there. And so when down, people got used, people used to get together and daven in the, there was no shul, of course, but used to get together, a few neighbors, didn't have to look far for a minyan, for 10 people. It was in each house, more than that. But used to gather together outside because there was no room inside the houses to pray. outside, and was a lot of places used to have like a small, like a foyer in front, in back of their house, where they used to keep wood for winter or potatoes, or used to dig out a little small cellar where to put summertime. There was no refrigerators used to put over there. So in that place they used to get together and daven. Then we got news from all the towns all around that the Germans got them together in the marketplace and they shot him. People did not believe it. Later people find excuse because they are not far from the woods. They probably had contact with the partisans. But somehow the news got and people start believing over there that something is wrong. The Germans try to tell us that this is very simple, just he needs work. They are in wartime now and they need laborers. And nothing will happen to you. All you have to do is just obey the laws and we will be pleased and you will have everything. And some of them believe them. Even, let's say, they would, in heart they thought it's not true, it's impossible. He saw the thing the way he's handling, killing for nothing people, but they wanted to believe it, to make it easier on himself. The ghetto was opened, I says, in December 1941. In March 1942 was our holiday of Purim. People gathered together. Somehow they tried to read the scroll, be happy. Some of them sang of the Hasidim. At night, people felt the ghetto is being surrounded. There's more police than usually staying on the corners. And of course, one told the other, and at night already, people realized something is wrong over there. Didn't take long. Came into the ghetto from Gebietskommissar. I don't know if Krampe himself came or he sent somebody in to tell them that all the people which are in ghetto, the Branwitzer ghetto was built like two halves. There was a city public bath in between, and they wanted to have out of ghetto. So it was in form of a ches, you know what a ches is? It was like two half ghettos connected by a small passage in the south side of the ghetto. They ordered all the people from the east should go to the west side of the ghetto. And over there, they'll give out, they call it shines, which means they give you a card. It was an U on it, big U. I don't know exactly what a U meant. They were talking that time, unverträglich, which means irreplaceable, is very well needed. And people think that's the card for life. And they were going over there, running, and that I have to get it. I was one of them. First, they had all the signs printed for the people who worked in different places, like in SD or T, the others was already printed with the names on it. Later, they started giving out for other workers. People used to go out. So, to push yourself in the line, people thought this is life or death. You get the card, you stay alive. I was there all night pushing myself in. I got one of the cards. And because a lot of people, some I did not take the wives with them, they thought that they didn't believe them complete. And what they did is on the sign, they put "and Frau." They put their wife's name on it. My wife did not go. I went there all night and I got the card. In the morning, They gave that time out 6,000 cards, as I find out later from the Judenrat told us. Figuring there were 12,000 people in Baranovich ghetto, the other 6,000 will remain there. They won't be able to pass back, because on the way back, the police checked you if you have a shine like that. If you didn't have it, back into the other ghetto. And they figure this way they'll be able to grab the other 6,000. They call it Judenaktion. And we name it the same Aktie, we call it in Yiddish. People did not build it complete, and neither did I. I came back with a sign, but I hid myself. How did we do it? In that mill that was in the back of our house, we spread the barbed wires. There was no inside any guard. The guards were outside, and we jumped into the mill. And sure enough, on the following morning, they came with lots of trucks in that west side ghetto, and they started loading him up.
Who were you hiding with?
My whole family was in that mill. My wife, my child, father and mother-in-law. I had a brother with me that time, and all the family over there. There was approximately between 18 and 20 people. We did not have any hideout place, but we were plain simple in that mill, figuring it's out of ghetto when I come, and sure enough, they did not come in there. We looked from the roof of that mill, we saw over there the trucks start going. We were on that east side of the ghetto, but as soon they saw that they couldn't get many people, they got about a few hundred people and there's nobody to find. Everybody hid in his hideout. They start catching people, somebody shines even. And sure enough, at that day, there was a place out of Baranovich. We had two railroads. One goes from east to west, and the other one was north to south, connect Vilna with Zdolbunov, and one was going to Warsaw to Stolce, the border of the Russians. And there was a bridge, I believe the only bridge, one railroad on top of the other railroad. They took him in that neighborhood. We called it the Greener Brick, because it was greenery always there. And they shot them all. And that day, they shot 2,000 people. That was later the estimate of the